All right, 7 Ruby feature flag tools compared in 7 minutes. Let's go. Okay, we're going to do the same benchmark for each of them. We are going to simulate something where we've got a multivariate test. We are trying to release a feature. We have the multi-page version of checkout, the single-page version of checkout, and then our existing control. And we have a couple rules. We don't want to test it on enterprise. We want the beta users to get the multi-page version. That's a custom set, hopefully a shared segment of a number of our users. We want internal users, email ends with our domain, to get the multi-page version. And we have 2 teams, emails ending in foo.com and bar.com. They should get the single page version. Everyone else should get a 33, 33, 33 split of those 3 variants. Okay, contestant number 1 is FlipperCloud. It is a Ruby on Rails specific feature flag tool. Right out of the bat, we have a little bit of trouble. FlipperCloud only supports Boolean flags. So we could not do the multivariate test with those 3 choices. We could do that as multiple flags. Decide to give it a pass and we will just do true, false. Let's pretend we only have 2 sides of our feature flag. The next interesting thing is that the beta groups are actually don't have definitions inside the tool. We're actually going to define our beta groups inside code, and then we can just reference them here. So what that would look like would be some code like this, where we could register a group inside our Ruby code, then use some of our custom Ruby code to define that. So we are able to enable for those groups. We are not actually able to disable for a particular group. So in order to achieve disabling it for the enterprise tier, I think we would need to write that in code outside of the feature flag system. Finally, we are able to set this enabled 50% of the time. Flipper's pricing model is a free gem if you want to run it yourself, or it is $20 a month per seat if you want their hosted product. Next up, we have Unleash. Unleash has a very cool demo environment, so you can see and you can just absolutely play around with it. So once you get in there, you are able to add multiple variants. So I was able to add the control, the multi-page version, and the single-page version. My first attempt to get this to work was, we have a gradual rollout here, was to add different strategies to roll it out by specific, to try and put rules in here. But that's not actually how Unleash thinks about things. What we actually want to do, because these strategies would only give you the variants according to the rollout. So what we actually need to do is add variant overrides here. So what we want to do is in here add the, I can't click there, I have to edit. Okay, so now I have to edit the control override to set team tier to be enterprise. So this override here. And I'm able to also set the user email to be example.com for our single page version. Unfortunately, in these UIs, I was not able to use the shared segments here. So they do have segment capability, but you can't use them to do the overrides. So that made this, basically meant we did not pass the test here. They do have the concept of shared segments, but you're not able to use them in the variant overrides. You can only use them in the rollout section. Unleash has a strong focus on EU and privacy concerns, on open source and self-hosting options. Pro starts for $80 a month with 5 team members if you want a hosted version. Next, we have Prefab Cloud. Prefab was able to do all of our test case. We added 3 different variants, and we were able to specify that the control should happen for if the team tier was enterprise. We're able to use shared segments for the multi-page version here using a shared segment capability, and we are able to set a property if the email ends with one of these, they should get the single page version. Prefab has helpful code-based snippets so that you can see what context you are going to need in order to evaluate these rules. Prefab also has an audit trail. Prefab also has other features beyond feature flags, such as the ability to change your log levels on the fly or target log levels based on the same rules as feature flags. Prefab pricing is very competitive. It is $1 per connection a month. That's basically $1 per pod or $1 per running server, and it has $1 per 10,000 client or mobile requests. So basically an MAU pricing access there. Next, we have Flagsmith. Flagsmith touts the ability to use the hosted API or deploy to your own private cloud or run on-prem. We were able to get our feature working here. We can set up our 3 different variants, control, multi, and single, and set the weights for them. The rules come in as segment overrides. So here it's a little interesting. We have to say, we say our beta segment group here, and then we actually specify the weights for each of them. So the UI does become a little bit long. We have to specify the weight 0 and 100 for each of them rather than just saying internal users gets multi-page version, but it is flexible in this way. And we are able to use shared segments here. I was a little confused about this one in particular. I wasn't sure what operator to use to get a user ID in a set of things. I presume that equals or regex would work here in order to get a list of user IDs that are in your beta group. Flagsmith pricing has axes both on seats and number of requests, starting at $45 a month for 3 team members, or about $200 for 5+ team members. Next, we have LaunchDarkly. LaunchDarkly is the big player in the feature flag space. We were able to easily set up our experiment here. We were easily able to set up our 3 different variants and set the targeting so that the team tier of enterprise gets the control, our 2 beta groups, or our 2 segments get the multi-page, the users that end with this get the single page, and we get a percentage roll up for everyone else. You can also see some of their other advanced features like prerequisites. Those would be on the enterprise tier. LaunchDarkly has a number of different plans. There are ones that start at $8 and $16. Anecdotally, there's a lot of pressure pushing you towards the enterprise tier. That, from, again, anecdotes, sounds like it's about in the range of $30,000 a year for a bucket of 25 users, coming out to somewhere in the $70 to $100 per user range for enterprise. Next up, we have ConfigCat, another developer-focused feature flag tool that is also not seat-based. We were able to set up our flag here. We did it as a string config because we wanted to have multiple different variants. There is no concept of an actual variant here. This one here, it could serve the single page. These are just strings. Oops, actually I did misspell it. It's really accidental there. So these are just strings, but we are able to have a shared segment of beta users and internal users. We are able to use our custom tier matching and do the percentage split. ConfigCat pricing has a couple different things going on here. If you want more than 2 environments, you need to go to the Pro plan here, and if you want more than 3, you'll need to be on the Smart plan at $299. The other main pricing axis is the config JSON downloads. They do have a calculator to help you try to estimate this. Last but not least, we have DevCycle, another service touting their developer-focused nature. I was able to set up our variants here. They're called variables. We have 3 of them. Then for targeting, we are able to go in and set this targeting rule. So here, this was the development section here. Then you can see staging and production are right below it. So we are able to do a beta group where the user ID is in a set of IDs. There is no concept of a shared segment. So if we did want to reuse this beta group someplace else, we would need to redefine it, maybe duplicate it. Internal groups, we are able to do our rules here and then pick which ones they serve. They do have a nice typed concept of the various context properties. When you go to add a property, you can say the team plan, and you can say that's a Boolean number or string. They have code samples that are very curl forward here, but do have options in different languages. My impression was that it was difficult to get a quick overview of what is happening in this rule. It is quite a long rule definition. And I did also find it a little bit annoying to have to name this group here. You can't proceed unless you've named each of your rules, which feels unnecessary. DevCycle pricing is also usage-based, based both on number of client-side MAUs and then also the events that the clients send back. So that's it, 7 feature flag tools for Ruby compared in 7 minutes. Here is a takeaway table, and there's also an accompanying blog post on the Prefab blog if you want to read that. Thanks for listening.